Hello, it's Aural Hygiene. It's where we talk about caught and experimental films and things like that. This is our series of One and Done, where we go through the entire 6 episode series of Garth Marenghi's Dark Place. Should we call it Garth Marenghi's Dark Pod? Is that the right name for it? Dark
Dark
Cast?
pipes.
Dark Pipes, the dark pipes of Garth. That now we're just veering off.
Oh,
of this.
yes. Or the dark bagpipes.
Dark cast
Yes.
pipes.
We're having another triumvirate episode for Scotch Mist, which is me being Matt, Mark being Mark,
Hello.
and that damn Scott.
Greetings, one and all. Kimura hao unju.
Yeah. Is it racist?
Not Japanese.
That's actually Gaelic, Scottish Gaelic. But they in Scotland, Gaelic, Gaelic.
Yeah, I got to get it right. So, this, of course, being the unconscionably racist episode of Garth Marenghi, where all of his biases come out.
It is somehow more prejudiced against Scottish people than even the first couple episodes are towards women. I don't even know how they did it. It was like they just absolutely opened up on Scotland.
And what's her name? Sorry, what's her name still gets punched.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, that's right. Liz Asher.
Yeah. It's not like they're cool with the women in this one. They're doubling down on the Scotch.
I like how they imply that this is what got the show canceled. The fictional show canceled.
Yeah.
See, I wrote this episode is what got Garth canceled in the 80s, right?
Because actually, it was made in 2004, right?
Right.
Got an IMDb.
Something like that.
So yeah. So
long time ago.
It's but it's got that sort of VHS quality, you'd get from Blockbuster in the 80s. It's
Yeah, they did an incredible job with that. I don't even know if you could now.
Mark, I guess I'll ask you to do that TV guide thing because you're more practiced at that, I suppose.
Okay.
Or I know why Mark, why don't you do it and then Scott can translate it into Scottish Gaelic.
I think that's Scottish first.
Anyway, what is the Gaelic? Excuse me. Anyway, tell us what it's at, where it's at.
Dark Place. Are you asking me or Scott? Dark Place Hospital is overwhelmed by Scotch mist because Scottish ghosts have come to take revenge for the time when Rick Douglas went into a pub and refused to pay for a burger that was thrown into a deep fryer at a chip store, not a pub, a chip store.
A chip bar. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And then he ends up with red hair and no pants. And then they come to an understanding.
So it's I don't what's so racist about it? They come to an understanding. It's all about learning.
Hard.
It's all about learning.
Everything racist is fed to you. Well, a lot of it is fed to you in the flashbacks that are the framework of the episode, but
So if Scotch Mist is just Scotch with a twist of lime, lemon. Yeah, sorry, I realized that.
It's also like a weather phenomenon too. I don't know if that's like a racist weather term, quote unquote, but it's like it's kind of like a mist, but also like a light rain at the same time.
I looked it up, and the first Google result said it was a British idiom for something that is hard to find or does not exist. So immediately I'm kind of like, I'm out of my element. I don't understand the double, triple meanings of the term Scotch mist, and I don't understand the animosity between Scotland and England anyway. So,
but you didn't see Braveheart?
I did, but I kind of didn't pay attention.
Because Mel Gibson is a man for tolerance.
Isn't that sort of like Mel Gibson gets hanged halfway through it, and then it's just court proceedings for the rest of the film?
That would be a different movie.
Okay,
he gets drawn and quartered at the end and screams "freedom!" Right?
Yeah,
because he was freed.
What part in the Passion of the Christ Jesus died? Do they save that for the climax?
He yells freedom in Aramaic.
Yeah, It's basically like like a Scottish version of The Last Temptation. Then, so but I mean, it's based on the character of William Wallace, so who was a historical kind of liberator. Because there'd been a lot of cross-border fighting for centuries, and I think he was able to raise an army, and later, after he died, with Robert the Bruce, and they could sort of beat the English who were sort of invading into Scotland. So,
if you want to know more about the history, do not watch Braveheart.
Okay.
Yeah.
In my head, it just sits next to Gladiator, where it was like those really fun historical epics where there was a guy yelling and doing cool stuff.
Yeah, I saw it actually when I was living in Dublin, Ireland at the time, and it was kind of funny because a lot of the audience were standing up and cheering and things like that. But it definitely gets the blood and passions sort of going. But so I mean, it's good theatre, but I mean, historically, it's sometimes kind of regretful too. I mean,
I just remember we went to the late night show on the school night, not understanding that Braveheart's like 3.5 hours long.
Yeah.
I mean, like most Americans, I learned most of what I know about Scotland from the movie Highlander, which is nothing. I mean, it's a French man who's playing a Scottish man, and then Sean Connery, who actually is Scottish, is playing a Spaniard who is also Egyptian.
That's what happens when you live a long life.
Makes perfect sense.
I mean, who wants to live forever, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely no authority on all things Scottish, but my mother was born in Scotland, and my grandparents had very strong Glaswegian accents.
Okay.
But and I'd lived in Scotland for a little bit, but it's kind of cheesy. I'm definitely Australian Scottish, not Scottish. Yeah.
Did they deep fry your cheeseburger?
Actually, I do know. Like my grandmother told me that they deep fry Mars bars. Did you guys in America have Mars bars? Like basically chocolate bars, like a deep fried chocolate bar. That's a bit of a Glasgow thing.
I have absolutely deep fried chocolate bars. A lot of them.
Because in the southeast,
thing?
right? Yeah.
Why don't you deep fry chocolate bars?
Yeah, I mean,
you have to freeze them first. You freeze them, you dip them in funnel cake batter, and you gotta do them real high and real fast.
Okay, my question was why, not how, but sure, how's a good question too.
The American Scottish connection there.
Yeah, because of the Scottish connection. I haven't done a DNA test. I don't think I have any Scottish, probably Irish, but I have no idea because American South is just sort of European.
Don't do the
European
test,
gumbo.
then they'll have all your info.
Yeah, I'm thinking of looking into to finding one where they don't own your info, because there are some like that. Because a friend of mine just took one, and she's like 30% Jewish, and it's really just hilarious because she had no idea whatsoever, and kind of like. I want to hit some kind of jackpot where I suddenly can talk about something I didn't know about.
Yeah. It's fascinating. Yeah.
I'm 33.3% Anunnaki.
Yeah. There you go.
I don't know if Scott, you probably don't know this, but I don't know if Matt, you're familiar with all of a sudden someone's putting up a bunch of signs in Atlanta that say Anunnaki did things. There's like cool. Anunnaki made AIDS and Anunnaki killed MLK.
Yeah.
Just like a greatest hits of Anunnaki did stuff.
Is it like the Burma shave ads where it's like you have to read the signs as you're going down the street?
It's someone made it with a marker.
Oh, okay.
Fascinating. If you get into street graffiti like that, I think it's a great
not
choice.
spray paint, but a marker.
Yeah, a marker, like they drew out the letters with a marker. And
so
put
like
white signs out.
Like a Banksy that's read the Book of Enoch and memorized it or something like that. Yeah, so yeah, as one does.
Yeah. I mean, they look like protest signs, but someone just took the protest signs and put it on a street somewhere, so you'd see them.
Oh, we went so far off my topic. My original statement was going to be, I wonder if you could just go outside the hospital and have a nice night at the bar with the Scotch mist. Is it like when Voyager flies to like Nebula's a coffee and Janeway gets her coffee? Is it that sort of thing?
I hope so. I gotta say, like his description of the fried hamburger and like it made me pretty hungry. I was kind of, man.
No, I understood his disgust at the fried hamburger.
It was funny too because it was interesting because he talks about like he was on a flight to Norway, the Good Doctor, and he got grounded in Glasgow Prestwick Airport, and had to spend a night in Glasgow. And the guy just automatically, says, Jesus Christ, the horror of like one night in Glasgow.
I like when just for a second it cuts to Liz and she just says, "You can't say that." After he said something, I didn't get the exact line, but
yeah.
Well, what was it? It's my aunt lives here. She says it's a nice place.
It's like she's wrong.
Yeah, that's
she's
right.
wrong.
Yeah, and like all the sort of like classic sort of things, which would be like not classic racism. I mean, racism's not classic, but I mean, it's like you have the feeling of like massive paranoia. Everybody's watching you. There's suspicion of the other, and the fear and the hate, and a lot of the not tropes, but I mean like the sort of these montages of like a mother of three, puking in an open sewer, and he's on his trip to Glasgow. It's like,
They didn't have the budget for that. That's why.
I feel like it must be, like I said, I can't really understand what it's like since I just haven't lived there, but it must be sort of like living in the South. Everyone in Georgia acts like Alabama or Mississippi or Florida, which are all next to each other, are just complete hellholes. It's sort of like a thing where, why would I want to live there? And it's just one state over, and everyone's just incest jokes. And it's probably not very different.
Yeah, I guess we are like those damn Alabamanians.
It's like, what happens? What does a girl from Alabama do after having sex? Says, "Roll over, Dad, you're crushing my cigarettes." That was a joke.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't.
It barely was.
I just remember Mark and I traveling and ended up at that Tennessee road station where there were two dudes talking like we couldn't understand anything they were saying. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
What?
Well, I don't remember if I brought this. I'm sure I brought this up, but when we drove through Tennessee, it was about 2009.
Something like that.
It was legal. Open container was legal there. Like, I don't know if I brought it up to you, but I could have just been drinking in the passenger seat the entire time.
That's what we do in Japan.
You can open container in Japan?
Yeah, we had a company trip to Hokkaido a few years ago, and the secondary boss of the company's driving the car. The boss is in the passenger seat. There's a dude in the back seat, and then I'm in like the backpack, right? Like in the hatchback, like drinking for like 3 days straight.
Wow. Man, I'm jealous.
It's pretty cool too. Like when you finish work here, it's quite normal to go to the convenience store or combini and get like a highball or something like that. Just walk home drinking. People don't assume you're an alcoholic, so it's just just a dude after work or like a lass after work finishing a big day, and that's par for the course.
Yeah, I do love the picture that I had Matt take of me in 2012 when I was just walking down the street drinking a can of Jack Daniels.
As they do in Scotland.
No, they don't. They don't drink Jack Daniels in Scotland, do they? That doesn't make sense.
I bet they do. We drink Jameson here. I don't know. We drink Dewar's. I don't know.
Jameson's Irish, but it's bloody good. Yeah.
That's right, Ireland.
Racist.
Yeah.
Whoops.
But actually, one funny thing, and I'm sure it was, of course, deliberate. I mean, given the tone of the show, I mean, it's great. But like they were always addressing the people as Scotch, but actually that's considered offensive in Scotland because a Scotch, like Scotch whiskey or a Scotch product, or not Scotch, like Scotch eggs or something, but you'd call the person Scottish or Scots, but you wouldn't say Scotch. Yeah. So just a small point there. But
is that like calling someone a rummy?
What would it be like? Yeah, it's just like a pejorative term. Like even the word jock, it's Cockney rhyming slang. So, which was like, because basically, I think when Scottish were maybe in the military with other people from Britain, it was like in the hot weather they'd sweat, So the word sweat, socks, jock. So it's got a bit of a Cockney rhyming slang, I think, but that name jock kind of stuck to the Scottish people.
So it'd be like gaijin.
Yes.
You guys get called gaijin. Is that
usually not
offensive?
to
I
the
don't even know.
face?
Yeah.
It's not friendly. Yeah, so it depends on the tone. Like you can maybe self-refer to it, like self-refer to oneself as like a foreigner in Japan as, oh, I'm a gaijin. But for a Japanese person to call you that, unless they're very familiar with you, it's not friendly.
They'll do the longer version a lot, like especially kids.
Gaikokujin.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's friendly. That's okay. Yeah, that's quite okay.
That's just someone saying, oh, they're from another country, basically. As opposed to those damn foreigners.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, please, you first.
Oh, I was just gonna say I have no idea if they intentionally were calling people Scotch just to make it more offensive, but it felt like maybe that was
yes.
It felt this episode felt like extremely harsh. Even I mean, it felt harsh when it came out, and it feels possibly more harsh now. So that's kind of
well, if if you're gonna solve racism, there has to be a little bit of pain.
Yeah, it's got some of the classic British comedy there too, because I think a lot of it was very well thought out, and it comes across as self-depreciating at times too. Well, what did they say at the start? I just jotted it down somewhere. Sorry, but yes, here it is: uncut, uncensored, unbelievable, and unpalatable. But so you've got that self-depreciation, but also some of the classic British comedy is supposed to make you feel uncomfortable. It's so sort of, nerve jarring at times, but it's so funny. That's what makes it so good.
Yeah, I love just the antagonism and some of that stuff. Like Blackadder just feels like one of the most antagonistic things in the world. But it's just great.
Oh, those are just the most well thought out insults ever, right?
Yeah, it's like insult comedy sitcom.
I still don't know why Rowan Atkinson is best known as Mr. Bean when he should be known as Edmund Blackadder.
Well, I couldn't believe when I heard that Mr. Bean is like 18 episodes. I had no idea that it was that short. Like that's insane. Like that is such a cultural impact.
Garth Marenghi's Dark Place is only 6 episodes.
Yeah, it didn't have the cultural impact Mr. Bean had. I mean, I like it better, but
yeah, definitely.
There's still people I still meet people who've never heard of this show that I have to explain it to them.
And you sound like a madman trying to explain the show to them, even now.
I mostly just have to break down after trying to explain the layers of it. Just watch it.
Interesting too. Yes. You first.
I just say we're focusing so much on the Scottish stuff, but there's some really like confounding Dean Lernerisms in here as well. Like are Buster Brown's balls?
I believe so.
Yeah. I'm not exactly familiar with the term, but yeah, I think because he was also using some, I think, regional English sort of vernacular there, like a Devon rain or something like that. But yeah, it was like but definitely a bit of the local brogue.
I also really enjoyed the doomed couple dialogue was quite fantastic.
I'm pretty sure that was Dean Lerner doing the dubbing, right? I mean,
yeah.
It sounded like him.
Well, as he says, you can do a lot in a big garage.
It was great too. Like the dubbing was mismatched, obviously, and it was really good. That sort of VHS like low budget quality there. Yeah.
My notes were just their sex will be fun. They wanted to get into the sex, but it was the fog they got into in the end.
So a little bit of a tangent. Scott, have you ever seen
Danger
5?
No tangents.
Danger 5.
Hey, it sounds familiar. I haven't seen it.
Oh, it's an Australian show, and it's what I consider the closest thing to this show. And there isn't a framework, but it is a show about like spies in the 40s, and they're basically just trying to kill Hitler, and everything. All the sets look really cheap, and it's
Danger 5.
Check it out. I recommend it to anybody listening. Yeah.
I've been out of Australia too long. That's I've got to reconnect. I guess sometime.
That's right. Actually, I think that show has aired since we first met when you were living in Japan in Wow, how long has it been? How long have you been in Japan?
Time
Like,
passed.
continuously. Yeah.
Wow.
About 14 years.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I'm just going to think of the Scottish Gaelic expression for time flies. Sorry, I did memorize it, but now I'm on the spot. I can't quite come up with it. Yeah, what was it? Sorry, Joshua. Yeah, there we go. Ha'an ta'um etel sheched eskiyahi naguye. Time flies.
Yeah.
Man.
Unfortunately, about 2% of people speak Scottish Gaelic in modern Scotland, but that was due to government policy in the past, maybe similar to Native American or Aboriginal traditional languages. But
I would think so. I know a few people that are somewhat native, and I'd never met anyone who speaks like a native language here.
Do the
which is-
Welsh still speak their Welsh?
they do. There's actually quite a strong revival. No thanks to official policy, but official policies have changed. But there is quite a, I think since the 70s or something, there's been quite a strong language revival.
Yeah, because I just remember the Super
yeah.
Furry Animals and Gorky's I Got Mincy, however you say that, would do like
Yes.
Welsh albums.
Yes. Yes.
That always
Yeah,
freaked me out when I first was listening to those because Welsh sounds like Welsh and Portuguese were the two languages that I was exposed to that were just the weirdest. Like, what is going on? I think they're just like a little bit Germanish.
Well, they were the refugees from the sunken Atlantis. That's why.
Oh yeah, of course.
And the Anunnaki.
Yes, of course.
No, that those are different people.
They're friends. They're friends with each other. They trade secrets
And then Christmas cards.
and they make AIDS together. No, that's not true. Not true. No one made AIDS from Wales.
From
what, Wales?
The animal or
well, that's where we were
nation.
going, right?
But if anyone is interested in Scottish Gaelic, there is a good site. This is how I've been learning it. It's like learngaelic.net. That's how you can. It's all free and it's a great resource. So,
cool.
But yeah. Oh, please.
I was just saying now Rick Douglas has to learn the language. Except next episode,
they were just speaking English though in the episode. They were just speaking English and it was dubbed.
Right. We need
I noticed that. Yeah.
I mean,
yes.
we need subtitled.
Yeah, they were subtitled.
And yeah, what was it? Yeah, there was some funny sort of insinuations, like and also direct quotes was like. Yeah, sorry, I'm just going to find out the quote. I jotted it down. Sorry, you guys continue. I'm just going to find out the quote.
I was just going to say Train Spotting subtitled the Scottish English.
That is true. I needed that actually.
And you needed it. And the one that Mark and I would have seen in the theater when it came out, the entire thing had been redubbed.
Wait, really?
Yeah, to have the accents be less thick. If you watch mine, I got my DVD in Canada where they speak much thicker brogue.
That's interesting.
One of the weirdest.
It was the same actors,
here,
but yeah, same actors, but they redubbed most of the dialogue for the American audience.
Yeah, because in Scottish English. Oh, you first, Mark.
Oh, I was going to say one of the weirdest experiences I had was a movie called The Protector in America, but it was called Tom Yum Goong in Thailand. It was a Tony Jaa martial arts movie where they redubbed the entire thing. I think they redubbed the entire thing in English, but in the original film, everyone is speaking English, but they're speaking English in such a weird, like they all have such thick accents that it's kind of like, it's just like they're obviously speaking English phonetically, so it's just a very strange watch. So if anyone wants to see something weird where people were speaking English in a weird way, that's a weird one.
Yeah, because when I was working in Edinburgh, that was my mum's hometown. I remember one of my coworkers, like, if he'd always tell the boss when he'd ask, "Oh, who did this? What happened?" And he'd always say, "Oh, I didn't ken nothing about it." There's always, it's in their language or their Scottish English. It means I have no idea. Yeah,
okay.
I didn't ken nothing about it. Yeah. But yeah, there was some reference too. I was just getting my train of thought back. It's like, why are these Scottish warriors here in the moors? well, to kill the queen and destroy our way of life, what every Scotsman wants. Yeah. It's like-
Yeah, that's great. I love how some of the best lines in the series are just dropped in so quickly that you almost wouldn't notice them at first. It's like,
Well, I just love the disconnect where Dark Place is is in the middle of nowhere, unless you're on the roof, at which point it's in the middle of London.
That's true.
you know, it's because they opened that portal to hell.
Yeah, that's how portals to hell work.
Crowley, and actually, that was a note I jotted down exactly because I was thinking like Jack Parsons, Crowley, and L. Ron Hubbard, right, trying to, or maybe successfully blasting a gateway through the dimensions, so evil entities could get in.
CERN,
I think
I'm
it's
sure
because-
black holes to hell.
Yeah.
It's because this series is trying to channel Stephen King and Clive Barker both. I feel like both of them borrowed so liberally from that type of stuff and from Lovecraft. It's just sort of a
Yes.
primordial soup of 80s horror influence, which is why they can just do anything they want, because Stephen King's written, what, 350 books at this point? he's done everything.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, like you mentioned, like 80s horror, and because back then too, there was like the theme of of course it's a pretty horrible theme, but like the Native American curse, which is kind of like a Scottish superimposition of that, or an English superimposition of a Scottish curse. So you had the curse of the Highlanders coming back to haunt, which is maybe like trying to exercise some of the history, I guess, because also in Australia we have our legacy of genocide and so on. So I think that comes out in whether overtly or covertly.
We just need to have some, offerings of shortbread always at the ready.
My grandparents did.
Tim Tams? Tam Tams?
Tim Tams, yeah, that'd be the Aussie one. Yeah, because they make a bit of a joke too. Like at the start, you have the porridge on the ground, and then at the end you have the shortbread, and they make a bit of a joke, like would you like salt with that? And that's how you'd eat porridge, not with sort of fancy fruits or stuff like that. That's the traditional way, just with salt.
I don't think I've had porridge before. I'm like trying to think about it. I don't think it's really an American thing where we're presented with it that much.
I've had the Japanese version of porridge. I've had goulash. That's something completely different. It's fun to say goulash.
It's pretty different.
I know a place where I can get it. I can get goulash at that farmer's market near where your parents live, Matt. I know there's a goulash there.
Okay. So you're covered for goulash. You're covered in goulash.
Yeah, I'm covered in goulash starting tomorrow, first thing.
Yeah, because it is funny. Like, because Dag said, yes, please accept a shortbread. Sorry, I don't have salt to go with that. Yeah.
At least he's apologetic.
Yeah. Oh.
He didn't have salt because he's racist.
It's interesting too, because the character Dean Lerner, sorry, I forget his
it doesn't matter. We figured that out.
Thornton Reed, Thornton Reed, because he gives him this bag. Like, how does he know how to give him shortbread? But he's right on the money.
Maybe this isn't the first time that this has happened at Dark Place, and they just didn't learn from last time.
It's Chekhov's shortbread.
Yeah.
Even though I guess it's introduced right before it's used, so it's like not a particularly good Chekhov's shortbread, but it worked.
Yes. The 80s theme is so well done too, because like in the opening segments, as the spirit's moving through the building, you've got the sort of 80s hair dryer, like the Sony Walkman cassette, player and stuff like that. Just classic 80s. I don't know if we're of the same vintage, but it kind of maybe brings back our collective memories of growing up at that time.
It was funny. I've been watching all the anthology shows recently, and I put on some Tales from the Dark Side, which is there's still some very good episodes of that, but the intro for that is even lamer than you remembered. The Tales from the Dark Side is super lame. I mean, in a totally fun way, but
I mean, as I've talked about, I've been recently catching up on Star Trek and also now Twilight Zone. So it's like there's just no room for more anthologies at the moment. If you if you go straight from Twilight Zone and your other podcast directly to Tales from the Dark Side, then I will follow you and watch all of them.
I got some
would be
Night
a
Gallery
weird-
first, but
That would be a weird thing to do. But
let's see, where do we get on this particular episode? Cheap with batteries. Oh yeah, you can always tell the jib of a man by how cheap his
boy.
batteries are.
It's funny because when I first saw this, I didn't really even understand what kind of cheap batteries. I found a flea market a few years ago where you literally can get, you could get 20 batteries for like $2. So
Yeah,
what would
that's-
happen
yes.
with these batteries was they would last for about a day or two, and then they would start melting.
Like an environmental nightmare. Yeah.
Yeah, and I used I think all of them, but it was just like, oh, why?
That's
Just
impressive.
cursed batteries.
Yeah,
But
but you know, good. You need some product placement sometimes. So
at least one of the packs of batteries was called Toshiba batteries.
ooh. They just was the S scratched out?
No, it was printed. Toshiba was printed on the batteries.
Yeah. I mean, you
Not
know,
well.
and we find all sorts of weird bootleg shit in Japan, so whatever.
Yeah, I would. Man, yeah.
I think you bought some. I this was
Probably.
at the this was at what's the name of it? Shiomura, the clothing store, and it was a Tom and Jerry shirt, but then it had
Okay.
Jerry and a bird on it. It was really confusing.
I love that stuff, man. I loved. Last time I think I went to the book off for the hard off and just got a bunch of shirts that were just incomprehensible.
Oh yeah. Incomprehensible shirts are fantastic. Unfortunately, I go to the Uniqlo and get like sensible shirts like this smile shirt I'm wearing.
Oh.
But
I got some stuff at the Uniqlo too. That lasted longer, I think, than the other shirts.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to just say even like book off with a straight face. Or yeah, we got a pachinko parlor, which is like a cheap slot machine arcade. It's called Gold On. Yeah, I mean, book off and Gold On, whatever.
and you're leaving out the hard off.
Yeah, hard off.
But,
Oh,
That's
boy.
where you go for your used guitars.
yes. But yeah, back to the show though, there were some really good one-liners too, or two-liners in this case. Another good one was I think Liz said, "Oh, the mist is retreating" when they're in that cabin, and then Dr. Sanchez says, "Look, the mist is retreating." So it's like where everything like a female character, you know, is sort of invalidated. It just needs to be validated by a male. It's so sexist. It's like, oh,
Or could it be like the reverse Uhura, where, you know, like, why do I always have to repeat what the computer says? Maybe Sanchez just repeats what Liz says.
possible. Yeah, I could definitely watch it again.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
Yeah.
he's got the hots for Liz until he loses his junk in the next episode.
Yeah, because that's what kills the end of the series is basically because Rick Douglas can't accept that that someone else is trying to have sex with Liz, and then he hooks up with the blade
does
of
it
his
with the
broccoli. Right, so then his penis gets
Oh
cut
dear.
off,
Oh,
and then that's the end of the series. But it's very clear that Rick Douglas can't handle any competition whatsoever in the male space.
So, what is the talent of our Stephen King or our Clive Barkers? Because when I was like 12, Clive Barker seemed like a genius, right? But I'm guessing that not right.
I know I love Clive Barker, but this is I can't say I have read any of his stuff recently, so I can't say there aren't like a little bit of rose-colored glasses. Like he was brilliant when I was 14 isn't something
That's
I
my
can
point.
actually say. That sounds like an insult, but
Maybe that is his actual quality level. I haven't read any. I wonder how it would read if I tried to read it now. Stephen King, it's like, I mean, it's been quite a long time since I read that too. I did read The Stand, which is
The Stand is good. Yeah.
you can kill people with that book.
uncut version is huge. Yeah, it's it's the gold on version. Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah, he feels Garth Marenghi feels more like Stephen King, just because I feel like Stephen King pushed so hard into Hollywood in the 80s. And when Clive Barker tried to make movies, he sort of just made a few of them and then burned out and didn't do anything. He made, what, 3 movies?
Well, he didn't. I mean, they just made movies of his books. He wasn't particularly involved.
No,
I
mean,
think.
he was involved with, like, I'm saying he was involved with like 3 movies, and then maybe
Oh,
2
okay.
or 3 more were
Right.
made about his work. But
there's
Stephen
like
King
17
adaptations.
Hellraisers.
Stephen King wrote at least 2 movies and directed
Maximum Overdrive.
which is,
I'm
not
gonna scare the hell out of you.
it's not a great showcase for him, but he was also apparently on so much cocaine that he didn't even remember anything about it.
You've seen the trailer, which has him like introducing the movie, right?
Maybe.
Oh, that's what I was quoting. It has him. He's got this cockeyed look. He's like, I'm gonna scare the hell out of you. Like he's obviously like coking out of his mind.
Okay, but the real question is, do you know how he was hit by a car in like the late 90s, early 2000s, and then the person who hit him with a car died?
Stephen King? Yeah, he committed suicide. Yeah.
Did he? Did he commit suicide though? Does anyone think that Stephen King, I'm positing this in a public forum, did Stephen King murder a guy because he hit him with his car? That's probably not true. But wow, what a great story that is.
Yeah.
Wasn't like Kevin Spacey's accusers all like mysteriously dying?
For a second, I was about to be like, wait, Kevin Spacey was in Misery, but no, that was James Caan. That's completely different.
Yeah, they can remake Misery with Kevin Spacey, but they don't do any effects.
Just Kevin Spacey Kevin Spacey abducts I don't know, some other actor he was with in a movie.
Oh no, I was saying Kevin Spacey takes the James Caan role, but they don't do effects.
Oh, okay.
Smash his legs
Right.
up.
Just do like Harvey Weinstein abducts Kevin Spacey.
What's your favorite Kevin Spacey movie?
Usual Suspects, I guess.
No, the correct answer is K-Pax.
I've never seen
the book's good.
I haven't seen it either.
I will watch K-Pax when you do a Matt and Luke Sci-Fi Sanctuary episode about K-Pax.
I think Gene Brewer? His book was very good. Yeah, K-Pax is a great book.
Huh.
I think the movie was a little not sanitized, but it wasn't as in-depth as the book. But definitely read the book first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have we unloaded this tank of Scotch mist? Has the mist dissipated?
It's time to pack it up and go get a Scotch egg and a Scotch.
Yes.
Scotch.
Yes. And goodbye to the mist of misunderstanding, as Dag says.
Exactly. I haven't the foggiest idea. But I had to put that in there because you put it in there twice.
Yeah.
So
I don't know when people will be hearing this. They'll hear it at some time. So if you have anything general, I guess Scott and I make music. It's at rovingsagemedia.bandcamp.com. There's lots of music Scott and I made. It's more.
You know what I'm going to point out?
What's that?
Am I on your Bandcamp? I don't know. I'm going to say that as a plug, whatever month it is, the first Friday of every month is Bandcamp Friday, and Scott and Matt will get more of your money if you purchase their music on Bandcamp Friday.
Right on. Okay.
That's something. I did the best I can. I don't have any music up. Maybe you might find it at Stunrunner at bandcamp.com. I don't know. I'm very blocked lately. So Scott, I had a tree fall in my house last year, and then I just
Matt Topic. Bloody hell.
I'm fine. It couldn't have gone better. I'm doing pretty good, but pretty writer's blocked. So I've been playing Halo. Play me on Halo Infinite. I don't know.
Yeah, send some of your work my way. I'd love to hear it.
I will
definitely.
Thanks.
Yeah, give it a very keen ear. So
DM Mark and
Yeah.
maybe he'll send you his
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. And I hope you get creating again. Just
Oh,
be
I
active
meant for
doing it.
everyone, for anyone listening.
Yeah,
Just
everyone.
everyone.
Yes, I will send to Scott. I won't send everyone music, but I'll send it to Scott.
Tapalat.
This
Gaelic. Thank you.
podcast is Aural Hygiene, Aural Hygiene Pod at Twitter. We're on Facebook. You're getting this early on Podcastius, hence me not knowing exactly when the general public will hear it. So, if people are paying now for that and want to or jump in later, then maybe we'll do more stuff like this little Garth Marenghi run, and maybe even like keep
groovy.
it private for goodsies.
Hey, you know what you should do? You should run a poll. What do the patrons want to hear us do, or you do?
That's cool.
Right.
And just to finish too, as they say, my grandmother said this: "Hi crioch erentel ach meri gulis kel," means the world will pass away, but music and love will last forever. North and south of the borders, in many countries.
Like Korea.
Yes, I was also thinking the US, but also
or
yes.
Ukraine.
And yes,
I think
east
that's
and
an
west too.
east and west. Yes.
Yes, but we all need that love. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Take care.